All right, let's start at quarterback. You can only get one guy in the field at a time, and that's most definitely JT Daniels coming off that stretch that started with the Mississippi State 400-yard effort, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, 67% completion percentage. Your thoughts about his development and what you expect from him this year?
Yeah, with what Georgia saw at the quarterback position last year, I think Georgia fans only want to see one quarterback on the field. I think the only time that they would want to see someone different would be, Brock Vandagriff or Carson Beck in mop-up duty and developing them towards, what life after JT Daniels could look like. But in terms of 2021, it is going to be the JT Daniels show. I expect him to take a big leap forward, but there's certainly those around the program that are questioning how much of a leap can he take? How much more is there for him to grow? I think that's going to be really interesting to see, and I think we're going to get a lot of answers on that, week one against Clemson. He's got talented weapons around him in terms of wide receivers that return. He does lose his top option in George Pickens, but he's started to develop some chemistry with some other guys in that room that will break down. The one thing that stood out to me in Daniels' 4 games is just how much the downfield passing improved for Georgia. I think when Stetson Bennett was in there, even Dwan Mathis as well, you saw a lot of underneath routes, throws that were, 5, 10, 15 yards downfield. JT Daniels was stretching it out, and he's got, former 5-star quarterback, was the number 1 quarterback in his class before he reclassified and ended up being number 3 behind Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, which is, nothing to be ashamed of. But I think with the talent that he's got, the arm talent that he's got, with the comfort levels that he should have in this offense, a second year under offensive coordinator Todd Monken, comfort with his knee, being even further removed from a major knee injury and surgery to fix that. I think that he should be very comfortable in the role that he's got. And I've mentioned it on here before. It's not often that Kirby Smart will come out and name a starting quarterback. Didn't even do it with Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. Didn't even do it the next year when it was Jake Fromm and Stetson Bennett. But this year, Kirby Smart has come out and said, JT is our guy. He did this ahead of spring practice, during spring practice. JT is our guy. He's going to be the starting quarterback, which is not a surprise to anyone, especially with what you saw last year and what, how much better the offense looked and more comfortable the offense looked with Daniels at the helm. But I certainly think that, there is a lot of room for JT Daniels to grow and help. This offense is going to come and go with JT Daniels. I'm not giving away, too many surprises here, but JT Daniels is going to be Georgia's most important player. He's going to be number 1 on that list for me because I think if you look at, just the struggles that Georgia had at that position and then the answers that Daniels provided, if you were to see him go down, and I don't think that there would be as much of a drop-off this year as there was last year. I think, Stetson Bennett would be I've mentioned it on here before. If JT Daniels' helmet pops off, if he goes down in the middle of a game, Stetson Bennett is probably your guy. But long-term options, Carson Beck and Brock Vandagriff are going to be those guys. But like I've said, I think Georgia fans would prefer to see just JT Daniels out there starting games for the Bulldogs this fall.
Jake Fromm was a guy who certainly had his share of critics, but much of it was set up by his early success, both by the team standards and by his standards statistically, individually. And he was good enough when it was all said and done to be drafted into the NFL. Have you seen enough of JT Daniels to compare his game to Jake Fromm?
Yeah, I think it's tough to make a comparison between the two. Because like you said, we saw so much of Fromm in season 1 and in season 2. I mean, he started every game for Georgia from the second game of his freshman year on. And I think, there is no doubt about what Jake Fromm was. Even entering his second season, you knew what you had in Jake Fromm. He did take a step forward, in that sophomore year and looked really good. He was comfortable with his receivers. Had some guys that are now playing in the NFL on Sundays. Mecole Hardman is a big name that comes to mind. Riley Ridley is another one. Javon Wims was there for him that first year, and several others. Terry Godwin is another one. I think JT Daniels, we've only seen him 4 games in a Georgia uniform, and only 4 games post, major knee injury. And so, I don't think you have as much certainty about what you have in JT Daniels. But I think, in terms of, the brief amount of what you saw, the small amount of what you saw, I think Georgia fans feel very comfortable. The biggest difference to me, and this is certainly going to show up, come time for the NFL draft with JT Daniels, be it after this season, next season, whenever, is the arm strength. Is JT Daniels has some natural arm strength that he, even, without perfect, fundamentals, he's been able to, get the ball downfield. I think if he can improve some of his lower body fundamentals, which I think, again, comes with more comfort after that knee injury, if he can improve that, he's going to have even more arm strength and even more, ability to stretch the field. That's something that was not Jake Fromm's